So, who is Linda Lynch Johnson? I'm someone who's learned to adapt through all the changes that take place in my life. From constant relocations, living in Saudi Arabia during the siege of Mecca and the taking of the hostages in Iran, and also through health challenges, the loss of both parents within a year of one another. Change has been my friend, and that's why I'm an adaptability specialist. My husband had been working in Saudi Arabia for a year when suddenly he calls me on the phone and said, "How would you like to come over here?" And I thought, why not? I'd never been out of the country before. What an adventure. So here was this 29-year-old blonde arriving in Saudi Arabia, looking around and realizing I didn't fit. And I had no preparation of how to deal with a totally different culture. I knew I had to come up with a plan, and I had to come up with it quickly if I was going to make it in this environment. That's when I developed the 5 steps that allowed me to experience that culture and thrive through it. And I have been utilizing that skill set since then. It's worked for me. I know it can work for you. The adapter factor is a method that I've come up with over all these years of experiences. It's something that can help people deal with change. It's going to happen whether you want it to or not, whether you choose it or it hits you right between the eyes. So wouldn't it be nice to have a skill set that you could use and pull out anytime you needed to deal with change? When I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia and then later a brain tumor, I thought my life was over. And then one day I had an epiphany. I realized I could either be my disease or just be someone who had it, and that changed my life. The 5 critical components of the adapter factor are: number 1, hit the pause button. Number 2, assess the situation. 3, figure out the why. 4, what's your current GPS location? And then 5, manage your environment. I've experimented with using these in many different environments, from work to bowling to relationships, and you'd be surprised how well they can work in all of those situations. I often use humor when I'm delivering difficult content because it makes it easier to assimilate the information. People then can bring it forward much more readily if you use a sense of humor, if you find a way to find the fun in the information. The adapter factor is kind of based on the king of adapting, and that's the chameleon. He has the ability to sit back, reflect his surroundings, observe the chaos, observe what's going on in his environment, and then decide how he'll fit in. And you can use that same skill set when you come into a new situation. Whether you're working with a new company, whether you're in a relationship, whether you have anything happen in your life, health, career, whatever. And you can take that opportunity to step back and learn from that chameleon, to reflect what's around you and then find out, where do I fit? How am I going to adapt? By doing that in our own lives, we can also do that and do it without losing ourselves. Because that chameleon, he doesn't become the tree. He doesn't transform into a frog. He doesn't become a dolphin. He's still the chameleon. And we can use that same skill set that way. Taking control of one's space can start with a simple step, and that's just acknowledging what's already there and seeing whether or not that supports you. I have some simple tools that I can use to help you determine whether or not what you've created is what you really want, or is there something else in your future. You are going to have the opportunity to place people in positions. And the acronym that I have down there, ACT, I want you to take a look at that paper for a moment. And I want you to understand why I wrote it down. It's adapt to change and take every opportunity to learn. Adapt. I had to learn that on the fly, and it stayed with me. But the other thing that you have to do is realize change. In human resources, there's going to be many times that you're going to be asked to make changes in departments, in hiring. And the one thing I want you to understand when you leave here is change is inevitable. A lot of people don't succeed because they've come up with a plan and they think it's the only way to get there. And then when something happens, whether it's a relationship, a business failure, or a health issue comes in, when change happens and they aren't prepared for it, it blindsides them. And then they think they can't get there. But you can. There's a skill set you can use so that when change happens, you can adapt to it. And you're going to envision a success that you never even thought was possible. So what challenges are you facing in your life today? In business, relationships, health, career? What change are you avoiding because you don't have the skill set to deal with it? Use the tools of the adapter factor to go beyond a life of just surviving to a life of thriving.